Welcome back to the channel and welcome to today's video. Before we get started on what you saw on the title card, I thought I'd give you some idea what I do between videos. So the last video was the twirling cocoon video, and that took way longer than I thought. And usually I do little projects in between these big projects. So last week's little projects, first of all, we did the Sophie scarf, which, you know, if you've seen the Sophie scarf, you know what it is. I didn't make it with the yarn they said in the pattern because I'm not going to sit there with really thin yarn. So I made it with 12 ply and we put big honking tassels on the end. So we did that, and then a couple of my friends said, well, I don't knit. Can I make one in crochet? So we developed this pattern with crochet, which is the same basic shape as the Sophie. We call this the ridgeback scarf, and I was thinking of doing a video on this if you're interested. So it's crochet, but in the Sophie scarf shape. So if you would like to do this, please put it in the comments and we can do a video on that. And there is also a written pattern that I'll have up for sale, but I'll mention that if we do the video. So that was also done in 10 ply, but I kill blocked it as well to make it more drapey. So that one. And then while I was doing that, I was trying to, if you remember the last video, I was showing you how to do the ribbing, and I started on this. I ended up making it a little purse, a little softball purse, and we even put a zip in it. So that was really cool, and that's all finished. And then last thing I did, I wanted to do some croodling. Now, I don't know if you know what croodling is. It's when you have a shape in mind but no pattern, and so you work from the bottom up, figuring it out as you go. I wanted to do something pretty mindless because the cocoon had been a bit taxing on the grey matter. So I made this. So this has just been made with mill ends, and it is just a moss stitch bag, which we also put a zip in. And so if you'd like to see a video on croodling, we can do that. If you'd like to see one on the ridgeback scarf, we can do that. Just need to put it in the comments. And if you like what you're seeing and you don't really want to join any things, subscribing is free and you can change it later. And if you really like what we're doing, you can put thanks, and I think it's on that side. It's just a one-off thing to say thanks, like what you're doing. Okay, no pressure, you don't have to do it, but it's there. So that being said, let's get on to this video. So the video today is the first part in what I'm thinking will be a 4 to 5 part series, and it is this blanket down here. Now, while I was making the last video, I started seeing pictures of a blanket online where it was incomplete pictures. I think it was somebody's actual project, and basically somebody had lifted it and were trying to sell the pattern, and yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But I really liked the way it was, but I wanted it square. And I also didn't like the holes that appeared where the points of the star were. I will put a picture up to show you what I'm talking about, but all rights go to the original person from the pictures. I don't know who they are because the picture got lifted, but it's their work and I'm not claiming it. I'm claiming my inspiration from it. So I looked at it, and then I decided I can make that. And I fiddled around with this while I was doing the last video. And you might have seen a short I put up when I figured out how to do the corner bits so it didn't have any gaps. So I thought, I'll finish this off and I'll put it up and see what people thought. And a lot of people really, really liked it. So that's why we're making it. So this one here was made from my stash, and it's all in cotton. I crocheted the whole thing with a 3mm hook. And, oh, sorry, that's loud. Okay, it is 83, 84 centimeters, and it will be squared. So it's a decent size for a baby blanket in the 4 ply cotton. There's 4 and 8 ply in here, but the 8 is quite thin. So if you wanted to make it in cotton, it will make a baby blanket size. I do suggest you use a 3.5 though, because it bubbles a little bit, because like I said, some of it was 8 ply and it's probably a slightly too small hook for it. So you can make it in cotton, but the one I'm going to show you on is I'm going to be making it in 8 ply, which is the standard, well, not the standard, most common ply available here in Australia. And what you need is you need 2 colorways, but you need tonal values in each colorway. So in the teal colorway, we've got a light, a medium, a dark, and in the orange colorway, a light, a medium, and a dark. And I am getting 100-gram balls. These are full balls not being used. As I said, this is the first time I've made this blanket, so I am guessing that this will be enough, but all of these I can get more of. And I will let you know as we go along if I've finished the ball and I've had to buy a new one. But at the moment, by what I use for this one, this should be enough. The other thing you need is you need a contrast colour. Now on the blanket, it was a white. For this lot, I think the cream will work better. And for my hook size, I'm going to start with a 4.5 because that's what I normally use for 8 ply. But it may have to shift up to a 4.75 or a 5 depending on how the yarns react. All of these are 8 ply, whereas some of these were 4 ply, some were 8. So that's what you'll need to get started at least. And what we're going to do today is that we are going to, well, I am going to show you how to make the beginning corner squares. So that's what we'll do next. And yeah, we'll get on with that. We'll move over to the other table. Right, so to make the first part of the blanket, you will need your hook, and I'm using a 4.5 and a pair of scissors. And then you will need to get all your yarns lined up. Now, this is being silly now. There it is. So you need to find all the ends of your yarns because you're going to use them all right? So I've got my yarns along the top here and along the side. I'll pull them in a little bit so you can see them. See them just there? And I found all the ends of the yarn so that I can get started. The next thing you want to do, I'll bring this across so you can see it. For this square here, bringing it down so you can see it right here. We are starting here with the white, and then we're going, you need to work out the sequence of your yarn. So for this one, did the light blue, the medium blue, the dark blue. Then I went the darkest purple, mid purple, lightest purple. And you want to keep that sequence all the way through in everything we do. So with the one I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the teals. So start with the lightest teal to the darkest, and then the darkest orange out to the lightest orange. That's going to be my sequence. And the other thing I want to say, most of this pattern, this whole blanket, is done in granny stitch, and the granny stitch I use is that there is no chains between the clusters and there's 2 chains in the corners. Okay, that's my standard. I will also say it as I do it, but I'm just starting off in the right foot. So first thing we need is the white, and we're going to make a magic circle. So if you haven't done a magic circle before, this is how I do them. There's all different ways to do it. And then you cross. So I'll show that again. So you're going over your 2 fingers together on that crease and like that. So it's like an angle. And then across. So it makes a cross on the back, but this one's going over that one. And then you go under the first one, over the second one, pull it through, and then pick up a loop. And pull it through there. And now you can pull your fingers out, and you have what is basically, it's a slip knot on a slip knot. So the first thing we're going to do is do the very center of the square. So we chain up 3, and then we do 2 double crochets. So that's 1 and 2. So this here, including our chain 3, is our first cluster. The chain 3 is counted as your first double crochet. We want to chain 2 because we're making a corner, and then making sure we are going over where it's 2 strands, not where it's 1 strand, okay? We're going to make our second cluster with 3 double crochets. And if you've never done a double crochet before, I'm using US terms, not UK terms. So you've got a loop on the hook, pick up a loop, go under there, pick up another loop from the back and pull it through 2 and pull it through 2. That is how you do a double crochet. We're going to go another 2 because that's our second corner, and double crochet, double crochet, and for this one I'll bring it up to here so you can see better. Loop on the hook, pick up a loop, through to the back, pick up another loop. 3 loops on your hook, pick up another 1, pull it through 2, pull it through 2. Chain 2, this is our third corner, and this one here is our last cluster because we're making a square. We have 4 clusters. So double crochet there, there, and there. Now, what I like to do with my joining, I do 1 chain of the corner. Then I pull our free thread and tighten up the magic circle. I always hold with this thumb so that I don't pull it too much. We can still go a little bit more, but it's enough to finish the circle. And then you want to go into the top of the chain 3 that you started with, under the 2, hopefully you can see that. There's the loop on our hook, and there's the 2 loops of the one we went under. And then just pick up a thread and pull it through everything. And that makes a slip knot. So that is our first square. Now I'm going to put this down, put my fingers on it and tighten the magic circle up as much as I possibly can. And then I'm just going to do an overhand knot here, and then holding it with my thumbnail, push it right down to the work. All that does, bring it up so you can see it. There's my little knot that I just did right there, and it just stops the magic circle from coming loose while I'm working on it. What I'll do at the end is I'll thread up a needle and I'll weave that around and then back again, so it's never ever going to come undone. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to do another same round of the granny squares. So we'll do chain up 3 again. Now you can also do, if you don't like the look of the chain, is you can do stacked single crochets. So I'll show you how to do that. 1 loop on the hook, go back through the hole, pick up a loop, and then make a single crochet. And then you want to go, hopefully you can see this, you see the 2 loops there that make the single crochet. You want to go into the back one, pick up a loop, and do another single crochet. What that does is it gives you a more solid stitch. You see there, it's filled it out, whereas the chain one actually leaves a gap. So we've just done the first half of that corner, and now we're not doing any chains between them. We're going to the next corner, and we do a cluster, which is 3 double crochets. Standard granny cluster is 3 double crochets, and because this is a corner, chain 2. And then we're going to do another cluster in the same space, and this makes our corner. Our corner is of a square, so there will be 4 of them. So I'll just finish this one so you can see what it looks like. So that's your center, first corner, second corner. So we will keep going around. This color is the only one where we're doing a standard part of a granny square. If you're making a normal granny square, you would change color at the end of this row and do the same thing again, and then change color and do it again, and as much as you want. But this is the last bit that we're doing the same way you do normal granny squares, normal traditional ones, that is. So this is our last complete corner that we're doing. Chain 2 in the corner, of course, and then the other half of the cluster, 1 more, and then we do the other half of the beginning cluster. This keeps our join in the corner where it's less noticeable, because the next row will cover it up. chain 1, single crochet into the top under those 2 loops and through. Now, because this is all we're doing with the white, we're going to, I just chain 2 and then cut yourself a decent tail and pull it through. And then bring that down to there. So that is the first 2 rounds of the granny square corner pieces, and that is all you do with the white. The next thing you want to do is you pick up your first colour and you put a slip knot on the hook. So I will show you that again. This is the short end over your finger. Grab the back, twist, and over your finger again. That is how you make a slip knot. Now, with making this square, bring it back in again so you can see. The square itself is only up to this white line. This white line is the one that joins it to the rest of the blanket. So we're inside this white line. This is what we're making. You will need to make 4 of these. So I'm only going to show you this one today. And what I wanted to show you is that that's the bit we just did. And if you look at my one next to that, it's quite a bit bigger. So that's where that one is, and mine's right out here. Mine's about the size of 3 there. So mine's 1 row bigger than doing that. But if you look, the colours are only on 2 sides all the way out. We are not going all the way around yet. So you need to pick which sides you want to use. Get that out the way. And stick with it. So the slip knot is on my hook. And I'm going to try to keep my ends all in the same place. And go in there. So I'm going to do a standing double crochet. And I'll tell you why in a sec. Just let me put this into the corner. Keep all the tails out the way so you can see that I've just picked up a loop from behind and finish it without it twisting around like a normal double crochet. What that does is it gets my knot away from the base and it will make for easier weaving in later. Now for the first square we're not putting anything there. All right, so we're just doing that. We're going to reach across and we're going to do a cluster in the first gap. Like so. And then corner as normal. And the chain 2 in the corner. And keep going around. Like that. And last one on this side, last full cluster. So I'll just show you that. And then you want to reach across and you just want to do a double crochet here, just like that. Now you can chain up 3 or you can do the stacked single crochet. So that's what we did. I've turned the worker over 2. Sorry, I should have said that. And then another one. Now what this does is keeps you a clean line on this side, makes it easier to sew things together. That also counts as your first double crochet. So we go 2 and 3. And then we work back. We're doing basically the same thing as what we just did, but coming back again. Put standard corner in the corner. Two chains. I will show it out when I get to the end. Oh, it's caught. All right, so we're at the last side piece, and then what we need to do is we need to reach across to where we started, and we put a full cluster in that space. 2 and 3. And then we go 1, 2, cut it off with the tail, because that's all we need to do with that color for this square. You can set up a production line, you know, get all your white bits done, you can do that, that's not a problem. So what this has done is put all our tails on the same side, and it has also done 2 rows of that color. So every first row will start with a double crochet on its own, and every second row will finish with a full cluster to complete the square. So I will show you the next color. I'm not going to show you all the colors, otherwise the video is going to be way too long. Let me find the end of my string, wherever it's gone. There it is. All right, so same thing again, slip knot with the next color, put it on your hook. Pick up your work. You know you're starting from here because we're keeping all the tails in the same place. So the way you start a standing double crochet, loop on the hook, pick up a loop, put your finger on it so you don't lose it. Now we're going in the top of the last double crochet that we just made, and we're doing another double crochet. Reach across to the gap and start with your normal clusters. I like to hold on to the tail until I've got a little bit more to work with, just to keep the tension correct. All right, so now I can let go of that. First double crochet, first cluster. So I'm not going to talk for the rest of this. We'll probably just speed it up if we can. Okay, so that's all done. That is the whole of that color done. As you can see, all my ends are on the same side. All my edges line up with each other. So you're going to keep going with this. You want 2 rows of each color. The next row for me will be the darkest green. Then I will go to the darkest orange and work my way back lighter. I'll be back when I've done that so I can show you what it looks finished, and I will tell you what to do next. And here we have it, all done. So on the last row, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 full clusters from the corner. Each color has been done for 2 rows, including the first one. And I like to put them so that the last row is the right side up. So every first row is wrong. And of course, this one's upside down, but that one you can fix yourself. So you need to do 3 more of these. Then I would also recommend that you weave your ends into the colors there. It'll make life easier for you when you join it up, because when we join this up, we are actually going into these sides. So if you have them all clean to go, ready to go with, that is good. So that's your homework for next week. Make 3 more of these and weave all the ends in, and then next week we will start making the triangles. I hope you like this video, and if you've got any questions or queries, just put them in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next one.